Alright guys, welcome back to another video, and today we're here to talk about my favorite games on the PlayStation VR2 released in 2023. I'm really excited to do this video, and this video is going to be a little bit different than some of the other videos you guys see out there because I'm obviously coming at this list from somebody who already owns a Quest 3 and has owned the Quest 2 and also owns PSVR. So when I talk about my favorite games on the PlayStation VR2, I'm not going to be mentioning games that maybe play better on another system, or I've been playing on another system that doesn't have any difference on the PlayStation VR2, or maybe just looks better on the PC VR, and there's nothing really special about what PlayStation VR2 is bringing. So I'm coming at this from obviously exclusives and maybe games that are doing something better than with their original versions on the PlayStation VR2, whether it be the haptics that really elevate the game or whatever the case may be. So you're not going to see the usual standard, top 10, top 12 games on here because of that reason. But let's go ahead and get into the video.
Eating brekkie is the gaming tech. Going for a brekkie is the gaming tech. Gaming techie is the gaming tech. Gaming techie.
The first one here coming in at number 12 is Ghostbusters Rise of the Ghost Lord. Now, I know a lot of people were hating on this game when it first came out, but I actually really like this game. Yes, there's still some things that they need to add. There is a giant roadmap now with things coming out over the next few months, especially a big one coming in March, and then the one that Slimer is going to be added in January, and new costumes that are going to actually represent the original Ghostbusters, which is great to hear. But what's here is a lot of fun. They've added a couple of new game modes. I like the different levels that you play in. The graphics are superb on the PSVR2. The haptics are amazing. Really feels like you're using the Proton Pack and stuff like that. And I'm having a blast playing this with randoms online and having that cooperative experience about taking down ghosts. Obviously, there's not really any other game like it with the way that this game obviously is, and you obviously feel like you're a Ghostbuster in this game. Yes, it has the cartoony graphics and stuff like that, but I do feel like it suits the game well, and it works really well in my opinion. And I have a blast playing this game, and it's obviously why it's sitting at my number 12. Ghostbusters Rise of the Ghost Lord coming in at number 12. The next one here coming in at number 11 is Star Wars Tales from Galaxy's Edge, the Enhanced Edition. Now, like I was saying in the beginning of the video, I've obviously played this game on the Quest. I reviewed it on the Quest a long time ago when it came out, and this game never came out for PC. And I expected this game to be ported over to the PlayStation VR2 and not have anything special about it, because I thought they were just going to bring the Quest port over and that was going to be it. But that is not what happened here. They literally overhauled the entire game as far as graphics go. It looks so much better than it does, on the Quest, with more detail and higher resolution and all that kind of stuff that's running on here. It looks superb. It really makes you feel even more alive in the world. And then the haptics on top of that, where every gun feels like you're actually shooting that gun, and the adaptive triggers that are in here. Even the headset rumble is used sometimes when you're getting shot at. They really did bring us the Enhanced Edition, and obviously the DLC is included in this as well. But this is definitely the superior version and the definitive way of playing this game. And as a huge Star Wars fan, I had no issue replaying the game on the PlayStation VR2 and still going through it. And it feels like a brand new experience because of how much better the graphics look, how much more detail there is in the game, the haptics in the game, and the adaptive triggers and everything about it. And it makes me realize how good this game really was when it came out. So Star Wars Tales of the Galaxy's Edge coming in at number 11. The next one here coming in at number 10 is Synapse. This game is fantastic. It is an exclusive on the PlayStation VR2 made by Dreams. And really the only thing that holds this game back from being higher on my list is just that it's a relatively short game. But what is here, this roguelike shooter, the art style is what really sets this apart. It just looks so good. And the telekinesis powers that you have, where you're manipulating people in the air, throwing them against different objects and stuff, it just feels like you're basically a superhero in this game. And who doesn't want to feel like a superhero while playing VR? And it just really fast paced. The guns feel great. Obviously the haptics feel great. It being a PlayStation VR exclusive obviously means that it takes advantage of the graphics and the horsepower of the PlayStation VR 2. So things look super clear and super good. I honestly, my only complaint is just wish there was more of it. But man, this game is so much fun, and it's definitely one of the best games of the year on the PlayStation VR 2. That is Synapse coming in at number 10. The next one on this list coming in at number 9 is the Dark Pictures Switchback VR. And it's crazy that I'm talking about this game on this list, because when the game first came out, I liked it, but it probably would have just missed this list if that's exactly what we got and nothing else improved after that, because the graphics weren't sharp as much as you would expect it to be for PlayStation VR 2. and they fixed that in a graphics update. Now the game looks fantastic and it looks sharp in the way it should have, which is great to see. And then also, I thought that some of the action sometimes took a long time to get to. There was a lot of dead areas where you were kind of just riding the roller coaster, and it wasn't even like any loops or anything like that. It was kind of just leisurely going through, which some of the levels suffered from. But then they added the horde mode into this game, where they're still adding more levels to the horde mode now. But the horde mode literally gets you into the action as fast as possible, and you still have your jump scares, you're still going around, and the roller coaster takes it up a notch, which is exactly what we wanted, where you actually feel like you're on a high-tail roller coaster doing loops and turns and all this crazy stuff. So much more fun, and it definitely makes my list, and it's one of my go-to games to play now on the PlayStation VR2, especially showing to family and friends, especially when it comes to horror, coming in at number 9. The next one on this list, coming in at number 8, is Crossfire Sierra Squad. This is a game that I think went under a lot of people's radar, because when we first all saw it, we were like, this game's probably not going to be very good. And then it came out, and it ended up being very, very good. And it's so much fun to play on the PlayStation VR2 because of the fact that those haptic controllers, where every gun feels different, it really packs a punch. The adaptive triggers, the haptics in the actual headset. It obviously looks great on the PlayStation VR2, resolution-wise and graphics-wise. And it's cooperative the whole entire time in the campaign. There's over 50 cooperative missions that you can play, and they all are very varied. And the first few are a little bit simplistic, but once you get past those first few, everything opens up, and it really takes a mind of its own. It's so good how the variety of this game that this has, how good the graphics are, and the fact that everything is cooperative. I mean, this is definitely one of the standouts on the PlayStation VR2. It's really, really good. Crossfire Sierra Squad coming in at number 8. Next one on this list, coming in at number 7, is Firewall Ultra. Now, I know a lot of people, when this first game came out, had a lot of issues with, being able to get their friends into matches and stuff. Unfortunately for me, I never had really any issues, even when the game first came out. Things were pretty good for me, just because of the fact that I was playing solo and I wasn't trying to bring friends in. But all of that stuff, from what I understand now, is all fixed as far as being able to bring friends online. And they've added 2 new maps here recently to make the game even better. And I still think this is one of the best shooters you can play in VR. I know that it had a lot of problems at launch and stuff like that, and people were kind of pissed off, but I think if people come back to it now, they'll see a really fun game here. It's exactly what I wanted out of a sequel for Firewall Ultra now at its current state, and I hope that they keep adding more to it over time, different modes and different maps and stuff like that. They've adjusted a lot of the economy stuff that people were complaining about as well, and the gunplay just feels better than anything else. I love the cooperative nature. I love the team death, the back and forth when you're playing against each other in PvP. So much good stuff in this game, and I still play this game all the time. Firewall Ultra coming in at number 7. The next one on this list, coming in at number 6, is No Man's Sky. And to be honest, I never played this game when it first came out, and didn't play it for years later, and then got it on the PlayStation VR2. And when it first came out, it was a blurry mess. It wasn't that great, so I kind of stopped playing it. And then they added an update a couple months ago that really elevated the game and made it look really, really sharp, and it looked like a whole new game, essentially. And then they recently just did another update a week ago that brought the resolution even clearer than before, which I didn't think was possible. I don't know what kind of magic they're doing on here, but the game looks amazing on the PlayStation VR2 now. And the fact that this is a whole giant open world that you can explore with space and everything you could experience in No Man's Sky is fully here in VR makes this one of the must-play games on the PlayStation VR2 if you're a fan of No Man's Sky. Definitely not one to be missed. No Man's Sky coming in at number 6. The next one here, coming in at number 5, is Horizon Call of the Mountain. This was a launch title for the PlayStation VR2 this year, and it is still one of my favorite experiences I've had in VR on the PlayStation VR2. I mean, the graphics were amazing. They still are. They knocked it out of the park as far as graphics go. I actually really like the story being told. I like being in the Horizon world. Yes, obviously, it is a lot of climbing in this game, like a lot of people have said, but I have no problem with that. The climbing sections and stuff were still a ton of fun, in my opinion. It was broken up between some combat, which the combat, in my opinion, was really good as well. And, progressing the story and stuff like that. I think if you're a Horizon fan, this is definitely something you want to experience if you have a PlayStation VR2 fan, which is where I come at it from, as long as you know what to expect out of this game. It is a story-based Horizon adventure game that is a lot of climbing, but you're still going to have some combat thrown in there as well with your bow and stuff, which feels really good when you actually get to do it. But it is a lot of climbing. But I was okay with that going in because I knew it, and I had a blast with it, and the graphics and the story are a lot of fun to play in this game. Horizon Call of the Mountain coming in at number 5. The next one here coming in at number 4 is The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 Retribution. This is a fantastic sequel to the original game, even though, yes, it takes place in the same exact map, but everything has changed. There's so many more interiors that you can go into, so many areas to explore. Even the areas that were in there before have been completely changed, so you basically don't even recognize it. So many more missions. The story is obviously great. The zombies, new weapons and stuff like that, and better graphics. Everything you could want in a sequel is basically here. And on the PlayStation VR2, it's my favorite way to play it because of the fact that this is a darker game, so the OLED panels really, make that shine through. But more importantly is the haptics again. The adaptive triggers, shooting each gun, and the way that they all feel. While shooting, and since you're doing a lot of that and you're swiping your enemies with these melees and getting hit in the head and feeling the haptics of the actual headset, everything just kind of encompasses and makes the game feel more alive playing it on the PlayStation VR2. So I'm really happy with this game and the way it looks on the PlayStation VR2. They did a great job porting it over, and it's my favorite way to actually play this game, and it comes in at my number 4. The next one here coming in at number 3 is Resident Evil Village. So this was a fantastic launch title that came out on the PlayStation VR2. Capcom doing Capcom things here with Resident Evil, bringing Village into VR, and they did a fantastic job of porting a game that was obviously made for 2D flat screen into VR, and this is what I want to see from Sony and other players out there. We don't always need a game that's only VR only. I want to see those games too, because obviously those games are some of my favorites out there, but to get some of these AAA games out there that are in 2D and to bring them over to VR as well, and if they do a good job with it, I think Capcom has shown us that it could work in both ways, and this game kind of showed that off. I mean, the graphics on this were superb. You got the whole entire Village game to experience on here. It is so much fun to play. It definitely will scare the crap out of you for sure, and the VR mechanics in here are pretty well done. The only time that I fell out of it was when they do the cutscenes. Obviously they're in a 2D flat screen area, but other than that, you got the mechanics in here. You got the shooting, you got the melee weapons and all that stuff. You can pick items up. All the stuff that you would expect out of a VR game is here, brought into the Resident Evil world, and they did a fantastic job. And I love playing Resident Evil Village, and it's definitely a real scary game to play in VR for sure. So that comes in at my number 3. And the next one here coming in at number 2 is another Resident Evil game, and it is Resident Evil 4, the one that just came out. And I like this game more than Village because I feel like I'm in a world that I remember growing up with, because obviously Resident Evil 4 is the game that I played back in the day in the GameCube and stuff, so I know the game really well. So the fact that I got to put a VR headset and kind of feel like I was a part of this world even hit more home than obviously Village did, which is a brand new game in the Resident Evil franchise. So there's some nostalgia of being able to go in there and see this world from a different pair of eyes. And again, Capcom really knocked it out of the park with this one. Again, the graphics completely being redone for VR, and it all looks fantastic in there. Having the full experience of it being like a 15 to 20 hour game, a lot to explore. Obviously it being one of the regarded as one of the best Resident Evil, if not the best Resident Evil game of all time, of it sitting up there, and the fact that we have this game in VR and how well it was done, is just a testament to how Capcom kind of does these, VR modes for 2D games that were brought over to VR. And I want to see more and more of this done by Sony and their studios, because it's proven that it could be done really well, and Capcom, again, knocked it out of the park with this one. So if you love the Resident Evil series, this is definitely the one I recommend you play, especially if you're a fan of Resident Evil 4 already and you played it back in the day. Fantastic. It's a free update if you already own the game. Check it out, coming in at number 2. And the number 1 game on this list for sure has got to be Gran Turismo 7. I mean, this game literally made me go get an actual wheel so I can play wheel games with VR, and this was the game that made me do it, and I have no regrets. This is a fantastic racing simulator. It's so good. The graphics in VR are superb. They keep adding more to the actual game as well. They just added snow tracks to the game that really, you got to see that in VR. They're doing a great job. The photo mode in this game, where you can take a look at the car and the detail and stuff, is superb in VR. And I mean, obviously you can get hundreds of hours out of this game with the online multiplayer, the career mode, and the content that they keep adding to this game is always being brought into VR. So you have endless amount of replayability. It keeps me coming back to, playing in VR and using my wheel and stuff like that. And it's my favorite thing to play on PlayStation VR 2. I've literally sold a few headsets with people who have come over and tried this in VR for the first time and never played a racing game before with a wheel, and they experienced PlayStation VR 2 and Gran Turismo, and they were were blown away as well. So this easily is my number one, and I hope you guys enjoyed this list of my top 12 favorite PlayStation VR2 games. I can't wait to see what comes next for 2024 on the PlayStation VR2. Sony, go ahead and bring some more exclusives for us so we can all play them. And on top of that, if you know, they don't have to be full VR games. You could do what Capcom is doing and bring those Resident Evil games that are technically flat games, and bringing more flat games that you guys have, like Last of Us and whatever else you want to bring us into VR, and Spider-Man. Bring those into VR, have a VR mode, and let us play it in VR, because the media is fantastic, and I can't wait to see what happens next on the PlayStation VR 2. So guys, if you guys have any questions, as always, leave it down below. If not, thank you guys for watching. Till next time.